What is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed, and as always, today we're breaking down all the news and updates going on in Cardano. First things first, I've got some news and updates surrounding LENFI, which was previously known as AADA Finance. As a part of these updates, I want to break down the recent release of their peer-to-pool Litepaper, as well as their monthly stats for the month of June. Now, towards the end of that particular segment, I do have a little bit of a surprise for you guys relating to their testnet. Second, I want to jump into a brief MinSwap update surrounding their iAssets and some of the farms and rewards that are now going to be given out if you are providing liquidity for iUSD, iETH, or iBTC. Now, the third update for today's video is going to be surrounding another upcoming testnet and a mainnet for AnetaBTC. Now, AnetaBTC is going to be a platform that allows for you to wrap your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network and transfer that over to a representative version of that, which will be CBTC on the Cardano network. Now, after that, I want to touch on a testnet for CherryLend, and then we're going to wrap up today's video by jumping into some brief updates surrounding the Coinecta IDO platform or Launchpad platform, which has just released their own tokenomics. As always, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal here is to provide you guys in the community with the latest news, tutorials, and reviews for the top builders in the Cardano ecosystem. If you appreciate content just like this, I would really appreciate it if you guys would consider delegating to the Dapp Central Stake Pool, which is stake pool ticker DAPP. So now that we've got the introduction out of the way, let's jump into our very first topic here for today's video, which is going to be surrounding LENFI. As I mentioned earlier, they did rebrand from AADA Finance over to LENFI over the course of the last week. Now, since then, we've been getting a little bit more information surrounding their peer-to-pool lending, which is aimed to be released on the testnet next week. So I'm going to give you guys a specific date in just a second. Now, what it states here is that the team is now thrilled to announce the release of their highly anticipated Litepaper for their peer-to-pool lending version of the protocol. Again, to simplify this, peer-to-peer is where you have two different parties basically confirming the act of a loan or a borrow, whereas with a peer-to-pool lending approach, the borrower will never have to wait for somebody on the other end to deny or approve their loan request. Because there's a liquidity pool available, you're able to get instantaneous loans. Now, LENFI has mentioned that they will be keeping the P2P or peer-to-peer as well as the peer-to-pool version of the protocol running. So depending on what you're more comfortable with or what you prefer, you can go ahead and pick accordingly. Now, the release of their actual Litepaper, breaking down all the ins and outs and all the mechanics of the actual peer-to-pool version of the protocol, is now hosted on github.com. This was just released, and so I haven't had the time, to dive into all of this, but as you guys can see, it really breaks everything down from supplying assets to borrowing, then to liquidations, as well as fees. I do have another video breaking down some of the Oracle structure and some of the NFTs that will be associated with the actual peer-to-pool version of the protocol. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that because we're in a decentralized environment, anybody will be able to spin up a liquidity pool to therefore begin gathering liquidity for a given token pair. Now, another cool thing to keep in mind is that the ADA going in as a part of some of these liquidity pools will be able to be delegated to stake pools if you are the owner of that liquidity pool. So again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to break all of this down. I'll be doing my own research over the course of the next coming days, but I did want to bring this to you guys' attention if you guys are interested in finding out more about how the actual peer-to-pool version of the lending protocol will be working. Now, the next update that I have here is going to be a pretty brief one, but I want to take a quick second to review the LENFI peer-to-peer monthly stats. Now, this is just for the month of June, and if I get myself out of the way, let me actually expand this here. I want to touch on some of the key highlights. So starting on the left-hand side here, we have a TVL in terms of the month of June of 21 million ADA, which is roughly around $6.2 million US. The average loan being taken in the month of June set at about 6,600 ADA, which translates to about $1,900 US. And then the volume of accepted loans over the course of the past month was somewhere around 4 million ADA, which is equivalent to about $1.1 million US. So a lot of really good TVL and a lot of really good numbers when it comes to the adoption of LENFI over the past 30 days. Now, if we take a look at the token spotlight, we have the MinSwap token. So we have over 800,000 ADA worth of the Min token being used as collateral with an APR of 22%. So a really lucrative opportunity if you're going to be providing liquidity or loans in the Min token. Taking a look at some of the most borrowed tokens in addition to Min, we have ADA, which is number one with 3.8 million ADA being borrowed, followed by AADA, where we saw 67,000 of those tokens being borrowed, followed by ViFi, JED, IUSD, SNEC, and CNETA. In terms of the actual APRs associated with these tokens, we can see that there is a 16% APR for ADA, 8% for AADA, we've got 12% for ViFi, and then the largest one here being SNEC, which is a meme token or meme coin with a 30% average borrow APR. In terms of the collateral being used on LENFI, we have 13 million of the AADA tokens being used as collateral. So it makes sense, right? That's the underlying governance token for that platform. Therefore, it's being used by the majority of the community in order to interact with the protocol. Coming in at number 2, in terms of collateral, we've got 888,000 of the ADA tokens. And then at number 3, we have 847,000 of the Min tokens, which I just mentioned was the token spotlight. So that'll take us through some of the beginning updates here for today's video, touching on LENFI. Now, as I mentioned, I've got a pretty cool surprise for you guys here. And what I can confirm is that we are expecting for the testnet launch of LENFI's peer-to-pool lending version of the protocol to be done on July 10th. So that'll be this coming Monday. And again, keep your eyes glued. I'll definitely be doing the same. But I was able to get this information from their Discord, from a team member, which is actually working directly with the LENFI project. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. But again, that was the very last thing I wanted to mention about LENFI. The next update here for today's Cardano Scoop is going to be a brief one surrounding the MinSwap token. And what I want to highlight here is going to be the fact that the Indy token is now going to be added as a reward if you are providing liquidity for any of the 3 Indigo iAssets. So Indigo is going to be a platform that allows for members within Cardano to get exposure to tokens that may not be native to Cardano, which include IUSD, which is a synthetic representation of a US dollar. We've also got iETH, which is a representation of Ethereum. And then we've got iBTC, which is a representation of Bitcoin. Now, if you go ahead and provide liquidity for any of these 3 assets, not only will you earn ADA, Min, but you're now also going to earn the Indy token, and on top of that, any of the trading fees that take place as a part of those liquidity pools. So another way to just make farming of these iAssets a little bit more profitable and a little bit more lucrative if you're looking to go ahead and do that. Again, keep in mind that you can go ahead and take out CDPs or collateralized debt positions straight from the Indigo protocol, and then turn around and use those iAssets to provide liquidity into these farms. Now, if you don't want to do that, right, if you don't want to open up a CDP, you can basically go ahead and use a DEX like MinSwap to purchase the tokens outright without having to worry about a potential liquidation. That is going to wrap it up there for the second update for today's video, focusing on MinSwap. Now, before we jump into the third update here surrounding AnetaBTC, I want to take a brief moment to ask you guys to tap that like button if you guys are finding this video to be helpful. If you guys want more content like this surrounding Cardano, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions for me surrounding anything we're chatting about today, then please make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. Now, the next update here for today's video is going to be surrounding the AnetaBTC protocol, which has now officially announced a mainnet launch date of July 7th. Now, AnetaBTC is a platform that I mentioned before, which allows for you to take your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, lock it up, and then mint a similar proportion of that token on the Cardano network. So that said, that could potentially bring a lot of new liquidity and a lot of new members from outside of Cardano into our ecosystem. So I'm going to touch on those numbers towards the end of this segment here. But the next thing I wanted to mention is that in preparation of the actual mainnet launch, they had to make sure that their audit was correct, and they have posted those results. So it states here that their audit was completed by Ikigai, and they did really get a good score. If I go ahead and actually pull it up here on Medium, we can see that as a part of their findings, they had 0 critical findings, 0 major findings, 3 medium findings, 2 minor findings, or excuse me, 1 minor finding, and then they had 6 informational. So the majority of them really being informational, which don't necessarily have an impact on the protocol itself. But if you guys want to find out more about the actual full review, they do have every single page of the audit posted here directly on Medium. Now, I think that's usually the most important part, is the severity and the ratings of the findings. And again, they have no critical or major findings. On the next tab, I wanted to just give you guys a brief comparison here of what we can expect in terms of the cost efficiency of Wrapped Bitcoin versus CBTC. And on the left-hand side there, we have Wrapped Bitcoin, which is currently available on Ethereum, which usually has a transaction cost of anywhere between $1 and $30. Again, keep in mind that Ethereum has a fee market, which basically means that depending on how much you're willing to put up to get your transaction through, you could potentially get it done faster. So that's how things operate on Ethereum. However, on Cardano, we just have blocks. And so things are basically executed based on the order in which they are submitted to the blockchain. Now, keep in mind that you can have a particular type of node that submits information faster to the blockchain compared to other nodes. But generally speaking, things are processed in a first in, first out order. And so on Cardano, using CBTC, which is a representative version of Wrapped BTC or just Bitcoin in general, there could be a transaction cost of somewhere around 50 cents. Now, this is anywhere between 2 and 60% less expensive than using Wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. So again, this is another use case for why somebody may want to actually wrap their Bitcoin and bring it over to Cardano and use it there for DeFi, as opposed to doing that on Ethereum. Now, on the next tab here, I do want to kind of jump into that DeFi narrative a little bit more, given the fact that we've seen a DeFi run over the course of the past few days. So what we have is some potential use cases of the actual CBTC token. So first thing you'll do is obviously mint the Bitcoin. On the Bitcoin network, you'll receive the CBTC. Now, what can you do with that when you actually receive the CBTC? Well, looking at this chart here, one of the things we can do is borrow IUSD, JED, or ADA, and then use that particular token, depending on which of the three we're borrowing, to then turn around and buy either ADA, CBTC, or MIN. You could also actually take the borrowed asset and also put that into a potential liquidity pool, which, like I just mentioned before with the Indy iAssets, could potentially earn you ADA, MIN, Indy, and some trading fees. So I think this is just another means to an end here. It can provide people with Bitcoin assets the ability to come into Cardano and potentially provide liquidity or use that CBTC as collateral to therefore gain access into other native tokens within the Cardano ecosystem. I believe that's going to take us through that particular update surrounding the AnetaBTC platform. Again, once the actual mainnet launches, I'll be making sure to provide you guys with an additional update. And if you guys want to play around on their testnet, that is still available. I have a full dedicated video breaking that entire process down, from the actual creation of the Bitcoin wallet, grabbing Bitcoin from the faucet, as well as actually making the transfer and then unwrapping the CBTC token and transferring that back over to the Bitcoin network. So really a through and through tutorial. And again, if you guys want to find out more about that, go ahead and check out my prior video. Now, the next update I want to jump into is going to be surrounding CherryLend. This is going to be a pretty brief update here, but we have another announcement for a testnet coming on July 10th. So I think we're going to see LENFI launch their peer-to-pool testnet on the 10th, and then we're also going to see CherryLend launch their testnet on the 10th. Now, this can be a little bit controversial given the fact that the CherryLend platform actually used open source code from LENFI, and some of the community did not really appreciate that, right? They kind of felt as if CherryLend was riding off of the back of LENFI. And now that LENFI is getting ready to release their peer-to-pool testnet, we're now seeing CherryLend releasing their testnet as well. Now, I do believe this will be for the peer-to-peer, not the peer-to-pool, but they do also have peer-to-pool on their roadmap for Q4 of this year. So that's going to be it there for that brief update on CherryLend. And in closing of today's video, we are going to be touching on some tokenomics for Coinecta. If you guys missed my last video with Marty, who is the actual founder and developer on the Coinecta project, they're going to be a launchpad platform, which is going to be not only operating on Cardano, but they're going to be bridging out into the Ergo network. Now, this is one particular network that, while we have heard a lot about it, I'm not really seeing a lot of other projects branching out over into Ergo, with the exception of Coinecta. And so if you guys want to find out more about Coinecta and Marty and his background, given the fact that he has launched a few other projects on the Ergo network, then make sure to go ahead and check out my last video. And so what I want to do is just briefly touch on some of the amounts for their tokenomics, and then we're going to close out today's video. So in terms of the biggest slice of the pie, we have 47.5% going towards staking emissions. We then have about 20% going towards their Coinecta pre-sale, which I believe will be held on their own platform, which only makes sense. And then we've got 12.5% going towards the team and advisors, followed by 6.25% going towards their marketing efforts, as well as an equivalent amount or almost equivalent amount of 6.5% going towards their treasury. In closing, we have 3.75% going towards ErgoPad stakers, and then 2% going towards their fair initial stake pool offering. And then we've got 1.5% getting prepped for liquidity, given the fact that they'll probably be traded on MinSwap, SundaySwap, ViFi, or MuesliSwap. I think that is going to do it here for today's video. Again, breaking down some of the latest announcements and news on Cardano, which includes the Litepaper released by LENFI. We also have their monthly report or their monthly stats. And then we dove into some updates surrounding MinSwap, AnetaBTC, and the CherryLend Testnet. And we just wrapped up by talking about the Coinecta Tokenomics. That said, if you guys found this video to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you guys could tap that like button. It really does help to get this content out to other members within the growing Cardano community. If you guys want more content like this, consider subscribing to the Dapp Central YouTube channel. And if you have any questions for me surrounding anything that we chatted about in today's video, then please make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.